Tomb of King Tut. King Tutankhamun impacted the world as his discovery by Howard Carter in 1922 showed the world the enormity of the ancient Egypt culture. The discovery of the tomb of King Tutankhamun was the defining moment in the cultural history of the early 20th century. It surpasses the boundaries of archaeology and fired the imagination of people all over the world, profoundly influencing culture and made people aware of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Tutankhamun gold mask has since become one of the most really recognized icons of the modern world. King Tut is known for being the boy pharaoh who ruled Egypt from 1333 to 1323 BC. He was the son-in-law of the hereditary king Akhenaten. Scientists who have analyzed DNA from royal mummies have managed to create a family tree for the ruler Tut and believe he may have died from a combination of malaria and bone abnormalities. King Tut has also become an Athon worshipper that he converted to his old religion. We have proof because he changed his original name Tutankhamun to the name that is now synonymous with him. Tutankhamun, and he has also made small additions and restorations to the temple of the old gods in Thebes way before he died. Carter also had tourists come to observe the tomb. The entrance passes consist of limestone with the steps that descend deep into the Valley of the Kings. Once down the pathway, a plaster wall is present. Embedded into the plaster wall is a stamp of Jackal and 9 slaves. This representing Tutankhamun's royalty. Farther into the tomb, a second plaster door is stamped with many priest seals. The King Tut's royal seal. On this doorway, in the top left-hand corner, the plaster wall shows signs of being entered. The first room Carter entered to was the antechamber. The smallest room with the tomb is known as Annex Room. The room was given its name through Howard Carter. This tiny room was filled with many items such as oil, foods, wines, pottery, dishes, tools, games, and baskets. This room was the last to documented by Howard Carter, as it was deemed more difficult to examine due to the room being in disarray. The annex room could be accessed through the left side of the tomb. A small door was cut out towards the bottom and placed between the legs of one of the 3 couches located within the antechamber. Upon entering this room, it drops immediately 3 feet as if it were meant to be a step of sort. This is the room where many Tut's household items for his internal voyage was kept. Most of the antechamber was filled with a huge shrine made of cedar and covered with gold. This shrine was 17 feet by 11 feet and stood 9 feet high. There were also other objects in this room with rituals and different meanings, such as 7 oars, a silver trumpet, a wooden goose, and 2 rushwork baskets. The second room Carter went into was called the burial chamber. The burial chamber of King Tut is the grandest room within the entire tomb. This room was colored a vibrant yellow with painting of Tutankhamun's in various representations. The murals on the wall have been a source of debate, as many historians have come to believe that there is properties made large enough to cover the walls of the tomb quickly. Other tombs in the Valley of the King has more detailed painting on the walls. When comparing these depictions to other prominent pharaohs buried in the valley, it leads many historians to believe the tomb burial was rushed. The burial chamber walls have been divided up into 4 regions, known as the Northern Wall, Eastern Wall, Southern Wall, and the Western Wall. Each one of these walls has different depictions of the pharaoh, ranging from his death to his afterlife journey. This was guarded by the statues that represent the royal Ka or soul, and a statue named Orisis, who symbolized the hope of rebirth. The burial chamber is the chamber that holds Tut's coffin, but also his sarcophagus. The burial chamber contained 4 different shrines. One of the shrines was a red quartzite sarcophagus. The others were three different nesting coffins. King Tut's mummy was in the innermost coffin. King Tut's the mummy is constructed of solid gold and weighs about 243 pounds. King Tut's complete body was wrapped in linen. His face was covered with a gold mask. This is possibly the most famous mask in history. It was a death mask. In ancient Egypt, the gods were said to have gold skin, so a gold mask symbolized that. Next to this room is a room called the treasury room. The treasury room was stocked with many items such as shrines, chests, boasts two of the king's Tut's believed stillborn daughters. This room could easily be accessed directly through the burial chamber on the eastern side of the room wall. This chamber has been boarded up for 4 years, while Carter archaeological team cleared the rest of the rooms. At the entrance of the treasury room was Anubis, the sculpture of Jackal, God, a dog-like figure carved of wood. Behind Anubis was a canopic shrine which held King Tut's emballed organs. Behind Anubis was the behind that 22 wood shrine that were placed on a number of model boats. These shrines were shrines of gods. These rooms contained many wooden boxes that held Shadavi figures. These figures were known as servants to the King Tut in the afterworld if he was required to do any work. Also in the room was a row of caskets that contained jewelry. Some thieves got a hold of these caskets, but there was still much jewelry left. While King Tut's Tutankhamun mask used in ancient Egypt, one was it used to protect the head of the mummy from being damaged, was preserving the facial feature of decreased and secure successful restoration in the afterlife. The mask itself is made out of pure gold, about 10.23 kg, representing the facial features of the king. Tut is wearing the Nemes headdress, which is striped blue and gold as a sign of association with the god Ra. One thing Carter had to endure after discovering the tomb in the 1900s was the thieves that robbed the tomb, not once, but more than once. Even at the outset, Carter and his financier Lord Carnarvon knew that the tomb had been compromised because of the resealed hole in the outer door, statue of material, and the damage sustained by the several objects in various rooms with the tomb. The annex was the worst one affected by the robberies. There were probably not enough room for more than one person in part of the tomb with all this equipment. That individually probably hastily but systematically ransacked the chamber entire contents, empty boxes, and throwing other artifacts aside and occasionally passing objects through the hole in the door of his companions on in the outer chamber for their expectation. By April 1923, only 2 months after the chamber's unsealing, the project financier George Herbert and Lord Carner died of complications from a mosquito bite. Then his dog died. Then other people connected to the dig began to die under suspicious circumstances. Rumors began to spread that Carnarvon and the others had stirred up the mummy curse of Ferrari Hicks, dooming those who disturbed the rest of the dead, kings and queens. An inscription supposedly carved on Tut's tomb warned that death will come on swift pens to those who disturb the rest of the pharaoh, which was later found to be negative. The financier died from Erysipelas, a bacterial infection that was brought on by mosquito bites. This led to septicemia, or blood poisoning, and pneumonia. Also, there's other statistics that later also proved that there's no such thing